So are you ready for some advanced Excel VBA? Yes, in this video, we're going to cover a loop within a loop in Excel VBA. You can get so much work done when you're automating tasks using this technique. So without further ado, let's get back into our download file and a big welcome back to the Excel VBA Real World Task Series 3. It's good to be with you. Have you been working along with us? I hope you have. If you have, you'll have the download file and it will be looking something like this. So remember, in video 2, we put a loop in, and this loop, this is our higher level loop. It's our containing loop. This loop loops through each of the teams. But we need to do more of that, of course, because for each team, we've got to find their last 3 games in this data set. Okay, so it's a loop within a loop. In this video, we're going to go about how to put that together. And I hope you're enjoying this series, guys. And remember, if you like this kind of series where we work through real world tasks in Excel VBA, you will love our member communities. And if you like football data, you'll love our Excel VBA for Football Traders member community, a unique resource for football traders or just for people who would like a set of real world tasks to work through. I'd love to see you there. With that said, let's get back into this one. Let's get the full screen action going and let's think about how to put together this loop within a loop. So, okay, what's going to help us do this? Well, this framework that we've created using annotations, using our pseudocode, that's helping me, because I'm already getting a little bit tired. I've done 2 videos today, so it's great to be able to look at the code and see in English what we need to do. So we've got a variable here, the fixture cell. So I'm benefiting from an informative name for this variable. Its name isn't X, Y, or Z. Is it, Jasmine? She's one of our members. We're always arguing about this. So we need another variable here. So we've got fixture cell. Let's call this one data cell as range. So we're going to apply the same technique, the same idea of for each loop embedded in a higher level, a containing for each loop. And I'm going to keep our coding practice up. I'm going to take our annotation, drop it in so I can see in English what each line of code is doing. Okay, so we know we're going to employ the same structure, don't we? So, I mean, you could, in fact, let's do it. So you can go ahead and copy this down. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. It gives us a template, doesn't it? It gives us a blueprint. It's easier to use this probably than having to build this from scratch. So for me, there's nothing wrong with copy and pasting code as long as you're not doing it unnecessarily. But clearly, this syntax isn't quite what we want. So what do we have to change? Well, fixture cell, we're going to change that to data cell. And we're trying to be really steady, systematic, and deliberate here because we're working with loops. And we know what it's like when loops go wrong. You know, we might end up having to, force close Excel or whatever it's called. So I'm trying to pay as much attention as possible, taking my time. When I do this in the real world, this is pretty much the pace that I'm working at most of the time. Now, the data cells, what's the range that we want to loop through for the fixture cells? It's B9 to B18, and we tested that in the video last time. So for the data cells, what range do we want to loop through? Okay, well, there's quite a lot of data, isn't there? So Control-Shift down here, we're starting in B5, Control-Shift down, B5 to B374. Now, what would you call that? You'd call that a static definition, because what we're doing is we're actually putting references into Excel VBA. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing. I would prefer to dynamically define that range because next week there's going to be more data in the file, isn't there? We know there's games at the weekend, there's going to be more data in the file. So we'd actually want to dynamically define these ranges. Check out our video, Excel VBA Position Control Mastery. We will link to it in the description below to get you started with some of those powerful dynamic position control techniques. For B5 to B374, we're saying here, in very steady and systematic 374. Yep, that makes sense. Control and up arrow, just check the value at the top to B5 there. Fixture cell, data cell, data cell. Okay. Okay, I've just thought of a problem. We're going to cover that in just a second. That's what it's like. Excel VBA, real world series. We deal with the problems as we come across them sometimes, just like you have to do in the real world. We're going to get to that in a second. Right. What do we want to do here? So we want to say data cell dot value. So we're using exactly the same testing technique as we did last time. And we're testing when we put a little bit more in the file. We're not saving that all until the end. Okay, I don't want to annotate this because I do want Excel to see it. So let's go ahead, hitting the F8 key here, and just take a moment to note that I'm now on the data sheet. I'm confident this routine is still going to work because I've told Excel, and I've just spotted a problem actually, I've told Excel which sheet to look at here, and you were perhaps yelling at the screen, Chris, you've got to change the name of the second sheet reference. Absolutely. 100%, but because we're using those sheet references, it doesn't matter which sheet we're on when we start the routine. If we didn't have those references, then it would be more important to make sure we're on the right sheet. So I do recommend using the sheet references there. Okay, so I spotted that, and let's hit the F8 key. Let's rock and roll. Let's go through, stop the video. What value is going to flash up here? What do you think? I'm going to hit the F8 key now. You can see Beagle. Beagle's flashing up. So where's that come from? Well, we're now in the loop within the loop. So Excel has checked what range do we want to loop through, starting with B5. So it's on the fixture sheet B5, and Excel's just flashed up Beagle there. Hitting the F8 key again. What value is going to flash up now? Bichon Frise flashing up, hitting the F8 key again, Border Collie. We'd expect Boston Terrier to flash up again. Now, seems to be okay. What shouldn't we do now? We don't want to hit the play button. If you hit the play button, Excel is going to loop through all of the rows and show you no fewer than 369, I believe, message boxes. We don't want to do that. If you have done that accidentally, hold down the escape key. On the Windows PC, hold down the escape key. That should, in fact, I'm going to do it now. Okay, so let's hit play here. So let's kind of simulate a disaster. In fact, before I do this, I'm going to save the file. But I'm going to show you what to do if you get stuck in an interminable loop, effectively. So I've just hit play now. You can see there's no line of code highlighted, so we're not in what's called break mode. We're not stepping through the code. Excel's just running the code, yeah? And it reassures us that we've got the code right. I can see Dachshund, flat coat retriever next. Luna, the flat coat retriever, she's just down here with me. She was in a real world series 1, by the way. We can see it's working, but I need to get out of this now. Now, you might end up furiously hitting the enter key and just working down. But if you're in this situation, you can hold down the escape key. I'm hoping this is going to work. Hold down the escape key, and you can see we've got code execution is interrupted. We know what's happened, so we can hit end. But if you did hit debug, it's useful to know what happens when you hit debug. Excel's going to show you the line of code that was problematic. But in this case, it wasn't problematic. Me holding down the escape key was problematic. So important, these skills, guys, because that's going to happen to you in the real world. Holding down the escape key can get you out of those problems. Okay, good. So we've got a loop within a loop. Seems to be working okay. I'm going to do one more test here. I want to understand that we're still looping through the fixtures one by one. So what I'm going to do with this message box here, I'm going to go Control-C, Control-V. I'm going to delete this message box here. In fact, yeah, delete this message box. I'm going to put this at the bottom, actually. And we're going to have a challenge here in a second. Control-V here. So I'm going to say data cell dot value, and that might return a value of nothing, actually, because we're outside of that loop. But I'm going to hit and here, and I'm going to say message box, and this is going to put a space in the message box, and we're going to say fixture cell. Value. There we go. Okay. So now I'm outside of our second loop, and I'm inside our higher level loop, inside the containing loop. Now, what I'm trying to prove here, I also put a breakpoint in the code. That means Excel is going to stop there, and that means we should avoid the situation where we have millions of message boxes. I just want to confirm here. Okay, fine. Message box datacell.value, and oh, it doesn't like that. So what's wrong with this then? Okay, it must be because we're outside of this this loop here. So I'm just going to say message box fixture cell.value. So I'm just going to literally reconfirm here, maybe not literally, but I'm just going to reconfirm that we're looping through. The team's okay at the higher level and seems to be fine. So the third team should be Newfoundland. So I've gone back and retested. I've retested a mechanism that worked previously, but because I've put something else in, I'm just confirming that it's still working. You can't do too much testing. Good, so we've got a loop within a loop. It seems to be working fine, but can you see the problem? I mentioned at the beginning of the series, specifically with how we're looping through this range here, Control Shift and down. We want to start at the bottom, don't we? Now this is a little challenge for us. We want to start at the bottom because that's where the most recent fixtures are. Stop the video. How are we going to do this? What ideas would you have? Well, for me, it's a good chance. It's a good chance to investigate a different type of loop, and it's a good chance to do a little bit of dynamic position control as well. That's what we're going to look at in the next video. It's going to be more advanced Excel VBA techniques, and hopefully you can see how this task is coming together. We've got a loop within a loop, incredibly advanced and powerful Excel VBA technique. And if you like the step-by-step real-world series, you like getting an insight into my approach, this is the approach I use every day on real-world Excel development consultancy projects. You'll love our member communities. We've got a ton of this type of tuition. I would love to see you there, and I will definitely see you in the next video. Take care.